I think it's about high time we called in some experts.
Let me tell you this, let me tell you right now, your exquisite kiss still burning. Didn't know I missed this passion in life. Now I'm addicted somehow. Let me tell you what is up with your smile? It's impossible, not melting, irresistible. When I look through your eyes, not even sky's the limit. I used to be satisfied, stayed over the surface. Now I just can't get enough. You make me feel good like no other. I just want it.
We've got the permit to do the hot works and we've got work to do in there, but before I do, we've got some jobs to finish off. We've got the rudders to finish first because all the welding equipment's at the house at the moment, and I don't want to bring all the rudders back in their bare state until I've finished. I may as well finish there. But we've also got this windlass that's half undone. And I've decided just to recruit a little bit of help because the anchor system is really important. The windlass and the anchor chain are very important safety equipment. And it's important to get it right, and I almost didn't get it right. Thankfully, I was saved twice by two experts. And one of those experts is AR Peachment, and the other one is Shakeshaw anchor chains. And because of the expertise and the technical expertise that they offer, they guided me from making some significant mistakes. I think one of the problems with today's internet sort of era is it's very easy to order things on the internet and think you know what you're getting. And they're often faceless transactions, but I'm a bit of a believer in face-to-face transactions because you get people's expertise, and that's what I've done. So thank you AR Peachment, thank you Shakeshaw Chains, and I'm sat here right now waiting for Steve from AR Peachment to come because he's going to have a look and give me some technical advice on my windlass and the control systems for it. Right, I'm here with Steve Aldridge from AR Peachment. Steve's come down to have a look at some of the technicals on the boat. We've got to have a look at the windlass. He's going to have a look at our hydraulic system and some of the switch gear as well for the windlass and things like that. Steve's come down because as I said earlier on, I think it's good to have some good technical advice. The problem with doing some of the technical things on the systems on the boat is you don't know what you don't know. So Steve kindly offered, because he was in the area, to pop in and have a look and give me some advice. What do you do at Peachment?
So AR Peachment is a 60-year-old company this year. We are a marine equipment supply company, but we have a very technical nature to our business. We back up our products with technical support. We have 2 electricians, 4 engineers, and we have people on the phone to back up the products that we sell. We distribute Nanny diesel engines in the UK, Loughran's windlasses, Max Power bow thrusters, Le Cumberland Smith hydraulic steering, and we keep many technical products for marine vessels, both commercial and leisure.
Right, fantastic. And Loughran's was the thing I was most interested in because we need a windlass for up here, and I think Steve's got something in mind. So we're going to have a look at the windlass.
Okay, so interesting. This windlass is full of grease.
Should it not be?
Well, no, the only time I've seen that before is on the Loughran's Royal. That's packed with grease.
Yeah.
All of the electrically powered windlasses use sort of a heavy gear oil. Was it a Vitus?
Yeah, it's a Vitus.
It was a Vitus.
Yeah.
So there was a time when Loughran's built windlasses for Vitus, but I don't think this was one of them because it doesn't look.
That's the crown gear that's gone.
Yeah.
Can you see?
Oh yeah. So the teeth are well worn out. It'll take you a long time to have that problem with the Tigris that we've recommended for you. The Tigris is, I think it's 54 years old, the design, and
Really?
it's barely changed in all that time because they've made 1 or 2 little changes to it, but if it don't break, you don't fix it, do you?
That's the motor.
Good old Vitus yellow. Oh, 1 kilowatt. So you've upgraded to 1500. So one thing we do need to do is have a look at your battery cable and your cable run. So in the manual that I brought you, we can look up the cable lengths and then we can specify the cable you need. And well, we just need to check what you've got because it might be what you've got is big enough already.
Yeah.
But if it was only spec'd to 1000 watts, we'll need to change it for the 15 kilowatt.
So I'm hoping here that we're not going to have to spend an absolute fortune on cable as well, because that stuff's not cheap. But we've got to do a job, we've got to do it properly. Let's go and have a look at where we're going to install this windlass. So you might remember this. It looks like it's from a hoist or a winch or something. This operated the windlass from down here. We also had that remote control where we changed the battery. We still don't know whether that works. We're probably not going to need it now, but Steve, you've got a solution for this?
Yeah, I think you've got two ways to operate the windlass with the remote and this. It's always a good thing to have two different methods of switching in case one of them fails. So I've brought you a switch for the wheelhouse so you can operate the windlass from your helm position. Also, I brought you the Loughran's Mini remote, which is a remote control, looks a bit like a car central locking fob. That'll be very easy to use from anywhere on the boat. But now that we're here and I've seen the deck and we've talked a little bit how you might anchor and how you might use the windlass, we'll get you some foot switches as well. Cool. That means that you can operate the windlass right here where the windlass is, using your feet, which keeps your hands free.
Right, fantastic. So we looks like we've got a solution for that doggy old switch. It does look like it's off a hoist crane, doesn't it? Awesome. So we get rid of that, we get rid of all that electrics, get foot switches on there, get a nice winch on there. Let's go and have a look inside at the helm. So a little bit dusty.
So yeah, the cockpit switch we bought, you can easily go in here, probably just alongside these. Yeah. Are you keeping this as is, or are you going to replace it?
Mine's not made up yet because that's for the future, but I think we might be redesigning this. We'll keep some of the analogues, but we'll probably be having glass panel at some stage.
Okay.
But nice. For now, we'll install it, and then we can upgrade this later on. So what we've got is we'll have a remote on a key fob. That's very high tech. We'll have a manual switch that's here on the helm, but we'll also have foot switches at the front, which is really where we should be operating the windlass from if we're doing things properly. Right, let's go and have a look at the anchor cabinet.
So something that you need to be aware of when you change your chain, because I know you're going to take this out and you're going to increase the amount of chain you're going to use, is when your chain is in, you need to check this measurement where the chain leaves the deck, through the hawse hole they call it, to the top of the stack. That needs to be greater than 300 millimeters. Okay. If it isn't, the chain will do something called laddering, where it'll effectively it'll stand up on each other and become solid, and the windlass will then skip. The chain can get caught around the windlass, and it just will not work properly.
So this is a case in example of why you get the experts on, because I would have never have known that. I'd have had it stacked up to the top and would have had problems. So now we've got some locker room work to do, which we're going to be doing very, very soon. And we need to make sure that we've got enough space in that locker to be able to have a drop of 300 millimeters. Right, thanks for that, Steve. You've just saved me again.
No probs.
Right, joined today by Steve Aldridge from AR Peachment. He's brought me my latest buy down. He's given me my instruction manual, and he's got the muscle. So he's about to lift out the Loughran's, what's it called?
It's a Tigress, this one.
Tigress, Loughran's Tigress. 1500 watts of awesome windlass power. Let me open the door while I'm talking.
Thank you very much.
There she be. That's a beauty. Right, that's it, Steve. Mate, thank you very much for coming down and giving me your sage advice.
It's been a pleasure to meet you, Sean. It was a really nice chat, and nice to see the boat. I was really excited to come and see the vessel. And yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Brilliant, fantastic, and thank you for hand delivering my windlass. So today, we're going to sort out this windlass. We're going to get the new one installed. But before I go any further, we've got some issues. I suspect there's some corrosion beneath the decking where the windlass has been sat, because it bulges. So I don't know whether you can see, but right around here where the old windlass went, the deck bulges up. So I've little doubt that there's a big patch of rust underneath there that needs to come off. which brings a new question to the whole build, is what do we do with the deck? A lot of the deck looks absolutely phenomenal, looks fantastic, and it is teak, and teak's expensive. But it's a steel boat, and one of the places that corrosion can hide and cause leaks that causes further problems later on is the deck, and particularly because the deck's screwed down, which over time is not always the greatest of ideas. So do we remove the whole of the deck? And if we do, what do we replace it with? Can we salvage the old deck, or do we need to go for new teak, which is really expensive and difficult to get? Or do we go for that faux-teak stuff? We've seen some of that at Southampton Boat Show. So I'm going to have a little think about that. But in the meanwhile, let's see what's involved in trying to get this deck up and salvaging it, because this will give me an idea as to how much of a nightmare trying to salvage the whole deck's going to be. I suspect if it's anything like the stern, the bathing platform, it's going to be a complete and utter nightmare. So the first bit of fun is going to be, can we see this? Hopefully that's a better view. Bit of fun then. Let's release this anchor, let it drop, because we're going to need it out of the anchor locker. Well, there's the tail end of the anchor, and there's a rusty old shackle on the bottom there I'm going to take off, but we've got the anchor chain out. I'll have a look in here in a minute, but I didn't bring my torch. I'll have to go and fetch the torch. Before I do, let's just cut that. So the first thing I need to do to try and get these decks up is remove the plugs because the screws are underneath. So that's always more challenging than it sounds. So we'll have a try, see if we can get these plugs out, see if we can get the screws out. Wish me luck. I think what we do, I saw an expert doing this week on a Ship Happens video, but we'll just make sure we're lined up and we don't slip by going in reverse and then forwards. Okay. Well, we were doing well there, but sadly, the impact driver's packed in. It's packed in two ways. It stopped turning, so something's obviously damaged. They're good, those. I need another one. But it's damaged in the second way. The bit fell out and has dropped through into the chain locker. It's down there somewhere. There's no point in fetching it because this isn't working. The other issue I've just discovered is that the water tank's on top of these teak strips as well. So unless I empty the water tank and start moving that, it's going to be difficult to try and salvage these teak planks. So we'll just have to cut into them. I'll try and do it sympathetically. We'll cut and remove them. I've got a funny feeling though we're going to end up with new decks. Right, more money. What's interesting is it's not as rusty underneath that windlass as I expected. I assumed that where these cables come through, there can be water ingress causing corrosion, and I believe that the bulging was the lifting because of the rust. It turns out it isn't. It's distortion in the deck where the windlass has been, which suggests that the winch clutch mechanism either doesn't exist on that old windlass or wasn't working. So I think that's been because of snatching on the anchor. We do, however, have a little bit of surface corrosion here, which is probably indicative of most of the deck. But we've got another big bulge just back here. And I'm just going to have a look. We'll release a little bit more of this deck and have a look what's causing that bulge. And it might just be the same distortion from where the windlass has been snatching. Well, that's the deck off, and as you can see, it's not particularly corrosion, it's the distortion where the windlass has been yanking at this top plate. So we need to fix that. But I'm not going to do that right now because I've got to go home now because it's Rachel's birthday. I've got to go home and do birthday things. It's the 8th of June. Happy birthday, Rach. It was my daughter's birthday 2 days ago. That was the 6th of June. It's a good job she wasn't born in 1966, isn't it? Otherwise it would be 6666. Just like you, Lindsay. And if you know somebody called Lindsay, born on the 6th of the 6th, 66, and your birthday is the 11th of June, you must be called Jim. Anyway, surprise, Jim. You're a VIP. Welcome aboard, Jim and Lindsay. VIPs. Thank you very much. Okay, gonna head off home. I'll see you in a few seconds though. Okay, back up to this windlass. I'm feeling a little bit annoyed with myself. I was thinking about it last night. I cut up the deck, that beautiful teak, and the reason I cut it up is I was convinced it was corroded underneath. And because it was corroded underneath there, I assumed it'd be corroded in other places and really needed inspecting. The deck is in such good condition from a corrosion point of view. I really feel as though the decks are probably fine. There's steel deck underneath, that there's no need to start tearing up the deck. But I've torn part of it up. There are some bits along the edges that we are going to have to remove as well, but maybe I can do those sympathetically. So I'm faced with a choice. Maybe you can give me your opinion, but we'll either try and repair that bit at the front now, and that means getting some salvaged teak and hoping that it matches, and relaying that area that we've cut out after we've repaired it. We do need to repair it. Or we could just bite the bullet and go for something like the faux-teak, depending on the price. As I said, I saw there were a few different companies producing it. I saw them at Southampton Boat Show last year. So I've got to think about that. I wouldn't mind your opinion. Let me know what you think. Right, let's get sorted and organised today to try and repair that dinted and bowed deck. This is my deck plate, which is in better condition than I thought it was. Here, you probably can't see, but where this straight edge is, there's quite a hump. And the hump is the aft two bolt holes on the windlass. It looks like the windlass has been snatching in that direction, probably on anchor. And it's distorted, pulled this part of the boat up. In order to fix this, I did consider replacing the plate, but I just think that's a lot of work for nothing because this plate's in good condition. But this is stretched now, so it won't just bang down, it'll just end up rippled and distorted. So what I want to try and do is just put a relief cut across this high hump at the back. The idea being that frees up a little bit of a space so that we can press it down and that gap will close up again. So I'm going to cut a line that goes straight through these two bolt holes here and see if we can push that down. Got my head torch on. Rachel bought me this, thank you Rach. Right, let's have a look. It's full of junk. What's that big piece of damp wood? So you can see our cut. You can see there's some reinforcement steel there, but that's probably what stopped the front of the windlass from distorting, but the plate behind it is what distorted, that goes up under that board. But we've managed to hammer that down now. So we've got a bit of cleaning up to do here. We've got to remove that old brass chain pipe, and I want to try and salvage the cables out of here, just to reuse for now. We may change those again in the future, but for now, they look good for the job. Let's see if we can salvage these cables. That doesn't look very good. Oh, I wonder if that's the reason it only worked in one direction. Well, I was hoping that I could remove the cables from that box without removing the lugs. Sadly, I can't. It looks like the lugs have been terminated after the cable's been put in. So I'm going to have to chop the lugs off one side. I'll have to go back up on deck, I think, and chop it off from that side. It's going to be easier. Now the next issue is that of the chain pipe, which is not an issue. When I was releasing the old chain and letting it down onto the ground down below, the chain kept getting stuck in this chain pipe. It wedged, and I would imagine that the previous owners had a bit of a nightmare with that, a bit of an issue, because when you just let it run out, it can just sometimes get wedged in that pipe. It suggests to me that it was a little bit too small. Now, I was considering buying a bigger chain pipe, but it turns out this windlass doesn't need one. It's kind of got the guide built into the windlass. So I can just get rid of it. It is on a screw, but I don't have a socket big enough for it. I'm fairly sure I could probably sort it out if I messed around and found some grips, but It's of no use to me, so I'm just going to sacrifice it and get shut. It's going in the scrap anyway. So we've put some high zinc primer on that. That's temporary primer. I've got to come and weld up those holes, ready for the new windlass, and weld up that slit that we put in there as well. But I can't do that because the welding equipment's back at home with the rudders. So in the meanwhile, I just thought I'd put some high zinc primer on there just to protect it. And of course, we've got some decisions to make about what we're going to do with this deck, because if we're going to repair it, then we'll surface prep this ready for the Sikaflex and such like, as well as 2-pack epoxy primer. But if we're going to rafe all of the decking off and replace it with some of that faux-teak, then of course we'll be sanding and primering the whole of the steel deck. So for now, high zinc primer just to hold fast.
While you counting from 1 to 10.
Well, that didn't quite go to plan. Hopefully we can rescue it with that resin fix. It is only rough, it's temporary, it's not there permanently. It's just so I can mount this windlass on because I want to test everything out and see if it winches the chain on and off. Before I put the windlass on though, I've got to weld up the top of the deck, and my welding equipment is back at home where I've been doing the rudders. So I could fetch the welding equipment, but that means I've got to finish the rudders down here, and everything's kind of set up there just to finish off. And I've also got another job that I'm doing there, which I'm going to show you in a few weeks' time. So what I'm probably going to do then is I need to go back then and finish those rudders, finish using the welding equipment, bring it back, weld the deck up, and then put this windlass on. That's not going to be now, that's going to be next week. So don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe button, hype button, leave us a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.